Chapter 1. The Perfect Lie. Vivian's pulse raced as she held the diamond ring Ethan had slipped onto her finger. It gleamed brilliantly under the lights, yet something about it felt off. That tiny seed of unease that had been nagging her for weeks flared into alarm. Ethan's smile didn't reach his eyes. His hand lingered too long when he brushed against hers, and the tension in his jaw was unmistakable. She tried to push it away, but her instinct screamed that something was dangerously wrong. "Vivian, you look stunning tonight," Ethan said smoothly, his voice warm but calculated. She smiled, a forced curl of lips, trying to ignore the pit forming in her stomach. Her eyes caught Mason in the corner of the room. The detective had been quietly monitoring Ethan under the pretense of security consultation, and his sharp gaze followed every movement. Mason's presence made her heart skip not just from fear, but from the strange pull of attraction she couldn't explain. Excusing herself, Vivian moved toward the balcony. The air in her lungs felt tight, but she needed clarity. As she studied the diamond, a faint marking on its surface caught her eye. A pattern so subtle it could be missed, yet deliberate enough to make her stomach turn. Then she heard it, hushed voices drifting through the glass doors. "It has to move tonight. No mistakes, or we lose everything," Ethan said, low and urgent. "And what about her? She's asking questions." Another voice snapped. Ethan's voice dropped even lower, a chilling whisper. "She doesn't know. She can't know. If she finds out, we're done. Understood?" Vivian's blood ran cold. Her chest tightened. Ethan? Using her? Laundering diamonds behind her back? Every instinct screamed danger. She retreated into the shadows, her mind racing, heart hammering. Every question she had been afraid to ask now demanded an answer. A soft step behind her made her spin. Mason stood there, his expression unreadable but his eyes sharp. "You heard that too," he said quietly. Vivian nodded, words caught in her throat. Mason's presence was both a comfort and a threat, a reminder that the world she knew was crumbling. "You need to be careful," Mason continued, his tone firm. "Ethan is dangerous and clever, but I can help you." I don't know if I can," Vivian admitted, her voice trembling. "He's my fiancé. You're stronger than you think," Mason interrupted. "Right now, you're the only one who can stop him before it's too late." Vivian took a steadying breath. She needed proof, evidence she could use. She moved toward the private study Ethan had locked before the engagement. Her pulse raced as she tried the handle locked, predictably. Then she remembered the spare key Ethan had jokingly left months ago. Her fingers trembled as she retrieved it, unlocking the door and slipping inside. The room smelled faintly of cedar and polish, a typical study at first glance. But Vivian's eyes scanned every surface, every shelf, and then she found it. A small, hidden safe, tucked behind a false panel in the wall. Her heart pounded in her ears. She had seen safes before, but this one felt alive, as if it held not just objects but the weight of betrayal itself. Carefully, she entered combinations she had overheard Ethan mutter in passing. The safe clicked. She opened it and froze. Inside were dozens of uncut diamonds, stacked neatly, and a ledger detailing shipments, names, and transactions, proof that Ethan had been orchestrating a criminal network, using her trust as cover. Suddenly, the study door swung open. Ethan stood there, his expression unreadable, but the tension radiating from him was undeniable. "What are you doing in here?" His voice was calm but edged with menace. Vivian's hands shook. I was just checking something. I must have forgotten the combination." Ethan stepped closer, eyes cold. "You shouldn't be here. Some things are better left unknown. Don't make a mistake you'll regret." Vivian clenched her fists, forcing herself to stay calm. She realized that she was caught in a dangerous game. She hadn't chosen a game that could cost her everything. Her gaze fell on the diamonds. The evidence she had uncovered was enough to destroy Ethan, but it also placed her squarely in his path of danger. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Every instinct screamed that one wrong move would be catastrophic. For a brief moment, she saw something in Ethan's eyes, a flicker of fear, or perhaps calculation. "You're clever," he said quietly. "Cleverness can be dangerous. And right now, danger is everywhere." A sudden noise from the hallway, a soft creak, made both of them tense. Mason's silhouette appeared in the doorway, alert and ready. Their eyes met, and Vivian felt a wave of relief, tempered immediately by the danger still looming in the room. "You're not alone," Mason said, voice steady yet warning. "But we don't have much time. He's not going to let this go easily." Vivian realized that her life had shifted irreversibly. Trust had been shattered. Love had become a weapon. Every choice from now on carried consequences. She had the diamonds. She had the proof. But could she use it without losing herself or her life? Ethan's lips curved into a dangerous smile, calm but filled with hidden threat. "So, what now?" Vivian's pulse thundered. She didn't answer. She only met his gaze, aware that any misstep could destroy everything she held dear. The night seemed to hold its breath, the tension in the room thick and suffocating. Every second was a heartbeat closer to disaster. Vivian knew she would have to make impossible choices, and fast. Then Ethan stepped forward, reaching for something unseen, his eyes never leaving hers. The room was charged with danger, betrayal, and unspoken desire. Vivian's hands brushed against the edge of the safe. She could feel the weight of the secret in her fingers, the power it represented. This was no longer just about love or engagement. It was about survival, justice, and the impossible decision of whether to trust Mason or to confront Ethan alone. A single moment stretched into eternity. Vivian understood that she could no longer pretend ignorance. She had discovered Ethan's secret. She had the diamonds. And he knew it. The chapter ended there, frozen in the tension between revelation and threat, desire and betrayal, love and danger. Vivian's world had changed in an instant, and nothing would ever be the same. Ethan knew she had discovered his secret, and he wasn't going to let her walk away. Chapter 2. Chasing Shadows. Vivian's hands shook as she held the hidden ledger and the uncut diamonds she had discovered in Ethan's safe. Each entry spelled betrayal, greed, and danger. Every shipment, every name, was a thread in a web that could ruin her life, or hers could unravel his. She knew she couldn't confront him yet. Not without evidence, not without a plan, and not without Mason at her side. Mason appeared silently outside her apartment, his presence both reassurance and warning. "He's moving the diamonds tonight," he said, voice low but urgent. "You have to follow him. Get proof. Don't let him see you." Vivian's chest tightened. Following Ethan alone felt impossible, but she also understood it was the only way. Every step was a calculated risk. Every glance, every movement had to be precise. Her pulse raced as she nodded, forcing herself to focus. She couldn't let fear paralyze her. Ethan arrived shortly after, smooth and composed, his charisma like a blade that could cut through any defense. "Vivian," he said, his smile practiced. "You seem distracted tonight." She forced a calm smile. "Just tired. Work's been exhausting." Every word was a lie, carefully chosen. She could feel his gaze piercing through her, evaluating, searching for cracks. Dinner was a tense dance of conversation and caution. Ethan's questions were pointed, testing her, probing her reactions. She answered carefully, her mind calculating every syllable, every pause. Behind his charm, she could sense the predator lurking. He was aware, perceptive, dangerous. One slip, one wrong glance, and he could destroy everything. Later, Ethan stepped away to take a call, and Vivian noticed an envelope left casually on the counter. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note. "Be careful who you trust. I'm watching." The handwriting was unmistakable, Emma. Vivian's rival had betrayed her, feeding Ethan information about her investigation. A knife twisted in her chest. She had underestimated the depth of deception surrounding her. Ethan returned, his steps quiet but deliberate. "Something on your mind?" he asked, voice calm but laced with threat. Vivian's heart raced. She swallowed, forcing herself to remain composed. "Just thinking," she said softly, careful to hide her panic. Night fell, and the city outside seemed oblivious to the storm brewing in Vivian's life. She met Mason in a dimly lit parking garage. "Emma is feeding him information," Mason said grimly. "She knows more than you think. You have to be careful who you trust." Vivian's fists clenched. Betrayal multiplied before her eyes. Emma had always been ambitious, but this was sabotage at the highest level. She nodded. "How do we stop him?" Mason's eyes were sharp. "Tonight, There's a shipment. Ethan's moving the diamonds personally. You follow him, get evidence. One misstep and it's over. The words sank deep, fear twisted in her stomach. But beneath it burned determination. She could do this. She had to. Back at Ethan's penthouse, she pretended exhaustion while keeping a careful eye on him. Every subtle movement, every whisper over the phone, every calculated gesture became a clue. Mason guided her through an earpiece, providing directions and warnings. Each second was measured, each heartbeat a test of courage. Ethan's gaze suddenly landed on her, sharp and questioning. You've been distant lately. Is someone on your mind? Vivian's throat went dry. No, just tired, she said, forcing her voice to remain steady. Each word was a shield, each pause a strategy. Ethan's expression remained calm, but the intensity in his eyes hinted at suspicion. Hours passed, and finally, Mason's signal confirmed the shipment's movement. Ethan was leaving, and this was Vivian's chance. She slipped from the apartment with her camera in hand, following at a careful distance, every step precise, every turn calculated. The streets blurred around her. Only Ethan mattered. Only survival mattered. As she tracked him, Emma appeared, stepping from the shadows with a smirk. Vivian's chest tightened. Emma's presence was a direct threat, a reminder that danger wasn't just Ethan anymore, it was the people surrounding him. Mason whispered urgently, "Ignore her. Focus on Ethan." Vivian's pulse thundered as she pressed on. She had to get the proof, had to survive. One wrong move would mean exposure, capture, or worse. Every instinct screamed danger. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and silent, where Ethan's network had stored the diamonds. Vivian ducked behind crates, holding her breath as Ethan entered. She raised the camera, capturing every detail, the arrangement of crates, the hidden compartments, the men moving with precision, unaware of the eyes documenting them. And then it happened. Ethan glanced into a reflective surface, and for a terrifying instant, their eyes met. His gaze was sharp, calculating, like a predator aware of a shadow following him. Vivian froze, heart hammering. Could he see her? Had he realized she was tracking him? Mason's voice was urgent in her ear, steadying her. "Stay calm. Don't move. Wait for your moment." Vivian's fingers tightened around the camera. She was close, closer than ever before, but the tension was suffocating. She had to remain invisible, silent, precise. One step wrong, one sound too loud, and Ethan would know. One wrong move, and she could lose everything. Emma's laugh rang faintly from the shadows. Vivian's heart sank. The betrayal was real, close, inescapable. Mason's voice cut through her panic. "Don't let her distract you. Focus. You're almost there." The shipment moved deeper into the warehouse. Vivian followed at a careful distance, capturing images, memorizing patterns, committing every detail to memory. Every movement was a risk. Every glance could expose her. The thrill of danger mingled with fear, with adrenaline sharp and biting, driving her forward. Then Ethan paused, turning suddenly toward where Vivian hid. For a split second, their eyes met again. Her breath caught. The world seemed to shrink to the two of them, the air thick with threat and unspoken challenge. Vivian's heart raced, but she forced herself to move silently, inching toward her target, toward proof, toward survival. She understood now that the night was no longer just about gathering evidence, it was about playing a deadly game, a high-stakes duel of wits, instinct, and courage. The tension stretched unbearably. Ethan had noticed the slightest disturbance, the possibility that someone was shadowing him. Every instinct Vivian had screamed that exposure could come at any moment. Every second was a razor's edge. Her eyes flicked to Mason's position, their silent communication guiding her. She was so close to capturing proof strong enough to bring Ethan down, to end the nightmare of lies and betrayal. But danger was never far. Emma's interference, Ethan's sharpness, the ever-present risk of exposure, they all combined into a storm she had to navigate perfectly. And then, in one breath, she realized she had reached the point of no return. The diamonds, the ledger, the proof all depended on her next move. One step, one flicker of hesitation, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Ethan's eyes locked onto hers once more. Had he seen her following him, or was he testing her loyalty? Vivian's next move would either expose the operation or destroy her completely. Chapter 3. Secrets on the Edge. Vivian's breath caught as she followed Ethan through the shadowed corridors of the warehouse. Every step he took seemed deliberate, a predator moving through territory he owned. The uncut diamonds from his hidden shipments were tucked away in crates around them, each one a tangible reminder of his lies, his betrayal, and the life she thought she knew. Her hands shook as she clutched the camera, Mason guiding her silently through the earpiece, his voice steady but urgent. Ethan paused by a crate, scanning a ledger with intense focus. Vivian's heart raced. Every detail he inspected was a thread in the network she had just begun to unravel. She inched closer, careful to remain unseen, careful that her pulse didn't give her away. Every nerve screamed tension, every movement had to be precise. One wrong gesture, one sound too loud, and Ethan would know she was there. Mason's voice whispered through her earpiece. "Focus on the ledger first. That's your proof. You need clear images of every transaction, every shipment. Don't get caught." Vivian nodded, heart hammering, forcing her hands steady. Each number, each name, each date was critical. She had to capture everything. Ethan bent closer to the ledger, his concentration absolute, unaware of the shadow lurking near the crates. Vivian's breath caught with every flick of his pen. This was the proof that could destroy him, but capturing it meant standing in the line of fire. Suddenly, Ethan froze, his head tilted as if sensing something. Vivian pressed herself against the nearest stack of crates, holding her breath. Mason's voice was sharp. "He hasn't seen you. Stay still." The seconds stretched unbearably. Ethan moved slowly, scanning the room, every step deliberate. His instincts were razor-sharp, his awareness uncanny. Vivian's pulse thundered in her ears. She had to remain invisible. She had to wait. Then, unexpectedly, Emma appeared from the shadows, her smirk sharp and mocking. "Looking for me," she said, voice cutting through the tension. Vivian's stomach dropped. Emma's betrayal was complete. She had been feeding Ethan information about Vivian's investigation. Every movement now carried double danger. Ethan's gaze flicked between them, suspicion flickering in his eyes. Vivian's mind raced. She had to act, had to finish her mission, or the opportunity to expose him could vanish in an instant. She raised the camera, snapping photos of the ledger, carefully capturing every detail. Every click was a heartbeat of courage, a lifeline tethered to survival. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan said finally, his voice calm but edged with menace. He stepped closer, and Vivian felt the weight of his presence, the calculated threat radiating from him. I was just checking something," she said, forcing her voice steady. Ethan's eyes narrowed, and the air between them thickened. "Checking something?" His words were measured, but the danger in them was palpable. "Some things are better left unknown, Vivian. Don't make a mistake you'll regret." Emma's laugh rang softly, cruel, and deliberate. "Careful, Vivian. One wrong move." Vivian's fists clenched. Betrayal and danger collided in her chest, threatening to overwhelm her. She forced herself to focus, ignoring Emma's provocations. Mason's voice cut through the chaos. "Ignore her. Ethan is the target. You're almost there." With a deep breath, Vivian edged closer, snapping more pictures of the ledger, memorizing the placement of the diamonds, the flow of the shipments, every single detail that could dismantle Ethan's operation. She was so close to proof that could free her from this web of deceit. Ethan's head turned sharply, as if sensing her presence. Vivian froze, heart hammering. Her pulse rattled in her ears. Could he see her? Could he sense that she was following him? Every instinct screamed danger. She realized then that staying hidden wasn't enough. She had to confront him, even if only partially, to gain the upper hand. Her hands tightened around the camera, and she stepped forward just enough to be noticed. "Ethan," she said, voice firm but controlled. "I know everything. The diamonds, the shipments, the lies. I know what you've been doing behind my back." Ethan froze, the ledger slipping slightly from his hands. For the first time, the predator faltered. Then his lips curved into a dangerous, calculated smile. "Clever girl," he murmured. "But cleverness can be dangerous. Do you really think you can stop me?" Vivian swallowed, steadying herself. "I don't have to stop you alone. Mason is watching. I have proof. And this ends tonight." Ethan's expression darkened, the seductive charm replaced by cold calculation. "You always overestimate yourself," he said, stepping closer. "Do you understand what happens to those who betray me?" Fear clawed at Vivian's chest, but determination surged stronger. She had to survive, she had to fight, and she had to act. Her next steps would determine whether she could finally expose him or fall victim to his deadly control. Then Emma moved, her eyes glinting with malice. "Go on, Ethan. Show her what happens to traitors." Her presence was a knife, twisting in Vivian's chest. A reminder that the danger had multiplied, that allies were few, and deception was everywhere. Vivian's jaw tightened. She had to use every ounce of courage, every sliver of strategy. Mason's voice steadied her. "Now, take the shots, get out. You're in control." She lunged toward the ledger, snapping final images and memorizing every detail. The proof was captured. The risk was immense. Ethan's glare was lethal, but she refused to flinch. Ethan took a measured step back, his eyes calculating, almost approving, as if gauging the depth of her audacity. "You're playing a dangerous game, Vivian," he said softly. "And one day, it will cost you everything." Vivian's chest heaved, adrenaline and fear warring against determination. "Maybe," she whispered, "but it's a game I intend to win." The warehouse seemed suspended in tension. Every glance, every breath was charged with threat and betrayal, with desire and danger entwined. Vivian realized this wasn't just about capturing evidence, it was about confronting the man she had loved, facing lies and deceit, and surviving a world built on betrayal. And then, suddenly, Ethan turned and vanished into the shadows, leaving Vivian frozen, proof in hand, but acutely aware that he would not allow her escape unchallenged. Ethan disappeared deeper into the warehouse, his warning lingering in the air. Vivian held the evidence, but could she survive long enough to expose him? Or would the danger close in before she had the chance? Chapter 4. Diamonds and Destiny. Vivian's hands shook as she tightened her grip on the camera. The evidence she had captured a lifeline in the shadows of the warehouse. Ethan's presence lingered somewhere ahead, invisible but palpable. Every step she had taken to gather proof had led to this moment. Every heartbeat screamed danger. Every nerve pulsed with fear, adrenaline, and a strange, impossible attraction she still felt toward the man who had betrayed her so completely. She moved carefully, Mason whispering directions through the earpiece, his voice steady but urgent. "Ethan is nearby. Stay hidden until the timing is perfect. This is your only chance." Vivian's chest heaved. She could feel the weight of the diamonds, of the ledger, of the secrets she held in her hands. This was more than evidence. It was her survival, her redemption, and the final test of courage. She had to act carefully. One wrong move could mean death. Suddenly, a shadow shifted. Ethan appeared, moving like a predator, precise and lethal. His eyes flicked over crates, scanning for threats. Then they landed on her. For a moment, time froze. Vivian's pulse thundered in her ears, and her stomach twisted with a mixture of fear and defiance. "You've been busy," Ethan said softly, almost a whisper, yet the menace beneath it was unmistakable. "But cleverness can only get you so far." Vivian swallowed, forcing herself to stay calm. "I'm done playing your games, Ethan. I have proof. Your lies, your diamonds, everything." His lips curved into a dangerous smile. "Proof? Do you really think you can survive what comes next?" The air between them crackled with tension. Betrayal, desire, and danger collided. Vivian's eyes darted to Emma, who emerged silently from the shadows, her smirk sharpened with malice. "Don't underestimate him," Emma hissed. "One wrong move and it's over." Vivian's fists clenched. Emma's presence was a constant threat, a reminder that danger was everywhere and allies were scarce. But she had come too far to falter now. Her courage burned brighter than fear. Mason's voice, calm but commanding, guided her. "This is it. Get the evidence and don't let him trap you." She raised the camera, snapping final images of the ledger, committing every shipment, every diamond, every illicit transaction to memory. Each click echoed in the warehouse, a heartbeat of defiance against the man who had shattered her trust. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "You're risking everything," he said, voice smooth but lethal. "And for what? Revenge? Justice or something else?" Vivian's jaw tightened. She had to hold her ground. "For the truth," she said firmly. "And I won't stop until everyone knows what you've done." A sudden noise made them both tense. One of Ethan's men had returned unexpectedly, scanning the area for movement. Vivian froze, her body rigid with fear. Ethan's gaze flicked toward the sound, and in that instant, Vivian understood. He could destroy her in a single moment if he realized how much she knew. Emma whispered again, a venomous edge to her tone. "Go on, Ethan. Show her the consequences." Vivian's chest tightened, but she forced herself forward. She had the camera, she had Mason, and she had the proof. She had to move decisively. One misstep now could undo everything, but hesitation was no longer an option. With a deep breath, she edged closer to the crates, her fingers trembling as she placed the camera in a position to record every diamond being loaded for shipment. Ethan's back was turned, the perfect opportunity, but the tension was unbearable. Every muscle in her body screamed to freeze, yet she pressed forward, silent, precise. Ethan suddenly turned, catching a flicker of movement. Vivian froze, heart racing, breath shallow. His gaze swept over the crates, the camera, the shadows. For a tense moment, he didn't speak, didn't move. Then he smiled a smile that chilled her more than any threat. "You're bold," he murmured, voice low, dangerous. "And I admire boldness. Sometimes. But boldness can be fatal." Vivian swallowed, forcing her voice steady. "I've survived your lies this far. I can survive you." Ethan's eyes darkened, a predator assessing prey. "We'll see about that," he said, moving closer, closer than before. Each step measured, deliberate, like the strike of a coiled snake. Then, unexpectedly, Mason's voice cut through the tension sharply. "Now, Vivian, move." Vivian lunged, grabbing the ledger from the crate and sprinting toward the exit, camera in hand. Ethan spun, realization flashing across his eyes. He moved with terrifying speed, but Vivian was faster, fueled by fear, adrenaline, and the certainty that she could not fail. Emma's laugh echoed behind her, but Vivian ignored it, focusing on the path Mason had guided her along. Every step was calculated, every movement a risk, but she had trained herself for this. She could feel Ethan gaining on her, his presence closing the distance, the danger tangible in the air around her. Finally, Vivian burst through the warehouse doors into the night air. Her lungs burned, heart hammering, but she kept running, Mason's voice steadying her. "You're almost safe. Keep moving." Behind her, Ethan stopped at the threshold, watching her escape, his eyes cold and calculating. The predator was still there, dangerous and aware, but she had the proof. She had survived the confrontation, captured the evidence, and exposed his empire, at least for now. Vivian stumbled into Mason's waiting car, trembling with exhaustion, relief, and a surge of triumph. "You did it," Mason said quietly. "You have everything. Now he can't touch you or anyone else." She clutched the ledger to her chest, her hands shaking. "It's over," she whispered, though she knew the threat lingered. Ethan was cunning, relentless, but for the first time, she felt a flicker of control, of power, reclaimed from the man who had used her love as a weapon. Emma's shadow lingered in the background of her thoughts, a reminder that betrayal could come from anywhere. But for tonight, she had won. She had exposed the truth, and in that victory, bittersweet though it was, she found strength, determination, and a measure of peace. Vivian's eyes flicked to the diamonds in the crate outside the warehouse, glittering dangerously under the streetlights. They had represented betrayal, danger, and greed, but now, in her hands, they were proof of survival, courage, and justice. Ethan's warning echoed in her mind, a reminder that danger was never truly gone. But she had faced him, and she had survived. For the first time, she understood that survival didn't mean hiding from danger, it meant confronting it, facing the betrayal, and reclaiming her life on her own terms. Vivian held the evidence, alive and defiant. Ethan's empire was exposed, Emma's betrayal neutralized for now, and Mason's support steady. But the shadows lingered, a reminder that trust, love, and danger were never simple, and that the life she had reclaimed would always carry the echo of the diamond's deadly secrets. To summarize this story, Vivian thought her engagement to Ethan was a dream until she uncovered the diamonds and lies it was built on. Betrayal turned love into danger as she raced to expose his schemes, hunted by both criminals and her own heart. With Mason's help, she uncovered the truth, but the cost of love built on deception left her with only proof, survival, and a bittersweet ending she would never escape. If you like this story, please subscribe my channel for more dramatic, intense romances. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to share the next story with you.